Well, thanks for joining me. This is awesome that I'm changing it up a bit as we go into 2023. Basically, I've been interviewing musicians, just more artists of that. Occasionally, somebody a little bit different, but you're still in that world because you are an entertainment attorney. So tell us all about that and what is exactly an entertainment attorney?
So, an entertainment attorney is, I would describe it as a practice of law that intersects with art, business, law, and in Georgia, sometimes that also includes politics. So, I serve as a counselor of sorts to people who are trying to make their art their livelihood. A lot of people are free to do art as a hobby. It's something we all start out doing as children, but for some people, art becomes more than just a distraction or a hobby, or even just something that they've taken on to bring personal enjoyment. It becomes a way for them to make money, and that's a very important distinction between people who do art casually and people who do it professionally. And for people who choose to do it professionally, they have to deal with all sorts of different legal considerations when it comes to their to the work that they are trying to do, not least of all being able to interpret and apply US copyright law. And so you can consider me an entertainment attorney, a copyright attorney, or an intellectual property attorney, for which copyright is one of the forms of IP.
Cool. How did you get here? How did you end up becoming an entertainment attorney? You started in paralegal work?
Yes, I was a paralegal for 2 years before I decided that the legal profession was right for me. So from that point, I decided to explore going to law school. But my paralegal experience had absolutely nothing to do with arts and entertainment. I was working as an immigration paralegal,
Hmm.
helping foreign nationals who have a work visa to work here in the United States. My services came at the point at which they had been in the US for long enough, in some cases, 7 years or longer, where they became eligible to apply for permanent residency. So that they were kind of in that period in between being a foreigner and a US citizen. There's kind of a step in between called a permanent resident. Other people know that as a green card.
Yeah, yeah, which was, has really grown over the years. I've been here over, 3.5 decades, and I never thought I would see just the amount of that kind of work. It's just been exploding. So, you found something, that was very active and lucrative in that arena, but you definitely moved on from that and became an associate.
Yeah, when I had the opportunity to go to law school, everybody needs a why. It's not just the what, but the why. So why did I go to law school? Why did I want to become an attorney? Well, the cute answer I give everyone is that I have the heart of an artist, Bob, but I have none of the talent. I tried my hand at piano as a child. It just never got beyond the basics. Meanwhile, one of my favorite places to go in Atlanta is the High Museum, because I could just look at and be surrounded by art and music and film all day long. Stage performances like that. That is what gives me the spice of life. And so I thought about ways that I could participate in the arts industry and give back to the community that has impacted my life and livelihood so much throughout my time on this earth, that I started thinking, well, what else could I do? What is the next hardest thing next to being an artist? And I thought,
Huh.
well, I've always made good grades in school. I'm a good test taker. I will sacrifice myself to the law school gods just so I can come out with that degree and be an advocate for the people I love, which are the people who help create art and music.
So you did the LSAT and all of that. My daughter did the LSAT. She did really well, actually. They teach you to do very well on these tests these days. So nowadays, though, you don't really have to do the LSAT. Is that what's been happening recently?
It's been over 10 years since I had to go through that process. My understanding is that, yes, the LSAT, the law school admissions test, is still a requirement for getting into law school. I've heard that the SAT for getting into an undergraduate program might be becoming optional, but the LSAT, as far as I know, it's still the predominant entry test used for law school.
Yeah, yeah. So, and where did you go to law school?
Georgia State.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. Spent a lot of time in the ATL. Did you live down there on campus or did you commute from the suburbs?
Well, Bob, did you know that I commuted from Peachtree Corners every single day of my law school career?
Welcome to
I
my
did.
life.
Yeah. I've lived in various places around Atlanta, including some of the more exciting places like Little Five Points and Old Fourth Ward and Decatur, and I just had a blast getting to know different sections of the city. But when it came to law school, I had an opportunity to stay in a family home up here in Peachtree Corners. So I had a little condo over in the Peachtree Forest neighborhood off of Peachtree Corners circle. So I had a little place over there by myself, and for 3 years, I would drive from Peachtree Corners to Doraville to get on the Doraville MARTA, and I would ride that all the way down 5 Points and pop one MARTA station to the east over to the Georgia State Station. And at the time, the old law school building was right there where you get off at the Georgia State MARTA station.
Wow, that's
In fact, the law school was one direction, the Capitol was in the other direction, but about a block from each other.
yeah, for those because we stream globally, Peachtree Corners is about 25 miles north of Atlanta in Georgia. And our traffic situation here is insanely challenging. And it's very tough to get around. So, getting on MARTA, that's the public transportation system, which takes us from nearby. It's about 8 miles to Doraville, which is not too bad of a commute to get on the train and get down to Georgia State every day. That's a long day, though, I'm sure. Just with the commute, going to classes, coming home, studying, I'm sure you've definitely paid your dues.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, for sure. So that's fantastic. So going through there, the entertainment industry really has come to Georgia. I mean, seriously, with the movies and film and all of that, I think your timing couldn't have been better as far as getting involved in that. So did you see that as you were going through GSU? That's like, wow, there's a lot happening here in Georgia.
I did. Yes, it was not a total coincidence, but it was something that I wanted to pursue. And typically, when you hear people in and around Atlanta talking about, having wanting to develop their, film career, TV career, music career, that usually meant that they were having to leave to go to LA or New York or Nashville. Right, those are the three most competitive markets to Atlanta when it comes to the entertainment industry. But even within the entertainment industry, as a kind of just a blanket term, we have to also examine each of the individual categories within that. So, for example, music. Music is an interesting industry here in Georgia because so much music globally, pop music around the world, is influenced by Atlanta. We have so much musical talent here. You could take, any week on the top 100 Billboard charts and find Georgians on that list. I mean, one of my favorite branding mechanisms is the company here in Atlanta that makes T-shirts that says "Atlanta influences everything," and because I truly believe that is a sentiment that we all can all recognize, kind of like when I was in high school doing German exchange student programs in a small town outside of Munich. Those folks down there were so excited to hear I was from Atlanta because they were big fans of Outkast. I mean, we're talking like the late 90s.
Great.
The word
Yeah.
of Atlanta being a music powerhouse was already solidified before I even became an undergraduate at the University of Georgia. And so music has really always been part of the fabric of Georgia. I mean, you could go back, 100 years and find absolute music legends, whether it's Ray Charles or, Little Richard. I mean, the history is rich there. But what's new and what really came about as a result of a policy change here in Georgia was the explosion of the film and television industry, which has become an enormous manufacturing industry here in Georgia. we have the means by which to manufacture films. They're still funded by sources that can come from really anywhere, but a large part of that comes from California. But the piecing together of the film is what we can be really proud of here in Georgia. That is just creating hundreds of thousands of jobs, and in my opinion, really elevating the quality of life here in Georgia.
Yeah, it makes sense though to shoot movies here. It's just as good as California. We got the mountains and the water and the Piedmont and all the flatlands. It's so geographically diverse, just like California, but way more affordable, I would think. And that probably won't remain that way forever, as you're probably seeing as you deal with this industry. So when did you become a solo practitioner? How far out of school did that happen for you?
Almost immediately, Bob.
Oh, great.
um,
Yeah. That's
uh,
you pass the bar like almost immediately. I know that's not an easy thing to do.
if you go to the right law school and you pay attention, it's doable. And
Yeah.
Georgia State University, small plug, they have one of the most consistently high bar passage rates for first time test takers. So yeah, I got through that, not unscathed, but got through it. I worked for another entertainment attorney here in Atlanta, somebody who had decades of experience, who at the time this gentleman had started his own law practice, and I was his first hire. So he was a
Mm.
solo. And I got to help him build his practice and learn from him. Really, the most important thing that working under another attorney for a short time did was, help me navigate the ethical challenges that being a lawyer sometimes presents. But after a year, I was in the midst at the time of getting married, and I felt like, well, I'm about to change my name. You have to name your law practice after yourself. So why not just do everything all at once? I'm going to get married, change my name, and start my law practice under my new married name. I'm no longer married, but I kept the name because it has been, just part of the way that people know me in the legal industry. There's not a lot of people who do entertainment law. It's I don't know why. It's a lot of fun, but it's also very challenging and competitive. And I've just really enjoyed my journey through entertainment law.
Yeah, it makes sense to just stay with your name, the branding, and just don't try to confuse anybody because you probably already established yourself, already in a number of years. So that's really just an amazing thing to be able to start your own thing like that. So Vivid IP, when did that all start for you?
Yeah, so I currently work with a small, full-service, all-female, independent intellectual property firm called Vivid IP. So that's what the IP stands for, intellectual property. One of my partners in the firm is somebody that I actually went to high school with, right here in Peachtree Corners, because we were both graduates of Wesleyan, the class of 2000.
Oh,
And
nice.
we'd kept in touch over the years. She went on to become a trademark attorney and a patent attorney. So she specializes in both. And the thing about the term intellectual property, it's an area of law that really consists of four main things: copyrights, trademarks, patents, and trade secrets. So copyrights is the body of law that protects artists and creators. Trademark protects slogans and logos, and patents protects inventions, and trade secrets is things like, think of the formula for Coca-Cola, right? It has never been made public. It is a trade secret. So those are the four main categories of intellectual property, and we service all of those areas, including litigation. So if you have an issue, if somebody sues you, or God forbid you have to sue somebody else, then we also offer IP litigation services. So it's a lot of fun. We're based right here in Atlanta, Georgia. We have a virtual office down in Buckhead, but as you can see, everybody has the capacity to work virtually. And really, Bob, I've been offering virtual legal services for the majority of my 10 plus year practice. And, it's kind of interesting to me that the pandemic kind of forced everybody to figure out how to provide services digitally, whereas, to me, nothing really changed. This is how I've been doing business for 10 years.
Oh, yeah, virtual has changed the game completely. Now we're into that phase where a lot of companies are saying, hey, come back into the office. And we're like, wait a minute, technology's changed this. We're so much more efficient, by being remote. We don't have to be on the road and causing more pollution. So, yeah, why not? So, do you have a brick and mortar office here in the Peachtree Corners area, or you're just totally from home?
I try not to use my home address on any business listings, so I do have a virtual office over at Atlanta Tech Park. And
Okay.
those who are local to Peachtree Corners know that that's a major center of community building for Peachtree Corners, where we have a lot of events. And so I collect my mail there. And, when I do need to meet with somebody in person, which is pretty rare, we do have a safe place where we can go and do that.
Oh, that works out fantastic. Yeah. Tech Park is very interesting and it's going through a lot of transformation. It was built many, many years ago by Paul Duke. That was his vision. And that was the whole idea, was to have live, work, play. And this was way before that was even a cool term. So that was had been going on for years. Now they are totally redeveloping that. So Tech Park is just it's a great idea, but it needs to be seriously updated. But yeah, it's so doing the work that you do, you got an amazing website. And where can we find that?
Thank you. Yes, my current firm is Vivid IP, so you can find us at vividip.com. I've got social media channels all over the place, and if anybody really wants to interact with me right now, I'm on a big TikTok kick. I think it's one of the most powerful communication tools that has ever been invented. So yeah, I can easily be found. My name is Beth Moore, which is like the female version of John Smith. So I use my middle initial to help people find me. So if you just Google Beth B is my middle initial, Beth B Moore. It's also my motto in life is to always be more.
Oh, that's really nice. How busy are you all? I mean, what kind of clients do you have these days? And have you had in your roster all this time?
Sure. So, as you know, I can't reveal who my actual clients are because that is one
Oh.
of the most common questions that I do receive. You didn't ask it, but people will be like, "Well, who's famous that I would know of that you represent?" And it's like, well, first of all, I can't tell you, and second of all, the industry is so big that usually, like the person that the household name that in the entertainment industry is just the tip of the iceberg. For every Brad Pitt that or every fill in the blank famous musician that there are thousands of people who support that person. So sometimes the most famous people I represent are people that are not household names for average households, but in the entertainment industry they're very well known. But generally speaking, Bob, the types of clients that I represent in the music industry, for example, are anyone and everyone from songwriters to recording artists, record labels, publishing companies, various licensees of music, just all kinds of creative software companies that are trying to, make music more accessible to various audiences. So, anything and everything involving the music industry is the area of entertainment that I can claim is truly my specialty. But that was the perfect foundation for me to jump from my specialty in music to also being able to represent clients in film and television. If you know the basics of music, you can transition into film and TV, but the reverse is not necessarily true. Just because you know film and TV does not mean you know anything about the music industry, because it's really just that complicated. Listening and consuming and purchasing music, very easy, very enjoyable. Working in music and understanding the complexities of music law and structures and hierarchies and the life cycle of a dollar in music is incredibly complex. But once you've got music down, film and TV is pretty accessible at that point. So I've been focusing on building that side of my practice a lot more. So, film and TV, they have differences, between them as well, but lumping them together, I represent everyone from screenwriters to film producers to directors to on-screen talent, to investors, to people who are involved in the distribution side of film and television. So I'm getting to the point where just about anything and everything relating to film and TV is something that I can assist with too.
So if I'm a screenwriter or a songwriter, what do I do when I come to you? It's just like I got a batch of songs here. What do you suggest happens? How do you get the copyrights on that? And how do you enforce that? How do you do copyright enforcement?
Yeah, well, first I'm going to have to put you on retainer before I give you any legal advice, Bob. But it just depends on the client's goals, right? It's so you got a catalog of music, like that's fantastic. I'm on your side. I'm here to help protect you and whatever it is that you want to do with your music. But everybody's got a different goal. I think about, a friend of mine named Joel, who is one of the most talented, prolific songwriters that I've ever met. And you will never hear of him because he does not want to be known. You can find him, but he's not going to try to track you down. And so, and I spent years begging him to make his music, more well known to folks by actively trying to promote it. And he just says, no, if people want me, they'll find me. So, number one is to listen to what the client's goals are, and, I won't lie, most people want to hit it big, that could mean financial security. It could mean that they have achieved some level of notoriety that they want to be famous. Some people are really just very passionate about their art and just want to keep doing that and find a way to make a living so that they can keep doing it. So, when it comes to some of the services that I provide, I would describe them as the 3 C's. I provide the 3 C's. And that is services relating to copyrights, contracts, and just general business consultation. So those 3 things, those are the 3 main things that people come to me for. Copyright is the common thread that connects all of my clients. In virtually every case, they have created some kind of proprietary property, something of value, whether it's they've written a song, they've recorded a song, they've written a film script, whatever it is. All of that is protectable under copyright law. So sometimes I will help explain to them what it means to own a copyright. Quite simply, it means the right to make copies. That's what copyright means, the right to make copies. And when you own a copyright, you've written an original song, you've created an original painting. That means that you, the artist who created that creative original thing, and here's the important part, it exists, right? It's gone from just your head to a tangible format. Then you can exercise exclusive copyrights to that original work. And there's a lot of complexity when it comes to that. Well, what if what you've created was inspired by someone else? Or what if you recorded a song, but it's got a sample from 1950 in it? I mean, it's unless you were just creating and coming up with ideas totally independently, free from influence from anyone, then it's a little bit easier when you are the only one. But art is a wonderfully collaborative art form. So you have multiple people helping to write a song. You have multiple people helping to create a film. You have multiple people contributing to the writing of a manuscript to become a book. So oftentimes the most challenging parts of my job are helping clients navigate those relationships and how it impacts the copyright. Which brings us to my second C, which is contracts. Deals, excuse me, deals regarding intellectual property have to be in writing. They cannot be verbal. You cannot have a verbal agreement that transfers a piece of intellectual property from one person to another. Just like you cannot buy a home without going down to the county office and filing a transfer of title to your home. Well, it's the same thing with intellectual property, except there is no county office. It's just a patchwork of agreements between private individuals that form the patchwork of ownership to even just one piece of intellectual property. One song, one book, one film script could have multiple copyright owners. And so the question becomes not only who owns it, but who gets to exercise their ownership rights, who gets to go out and get deals for that work, and then who gets to earn the money from it. It always comes down to those things: ownership, control, and money.
Yeah, it's gotten in navigating all this these days with the streaming and how much things are being used online. it just seems to get more and more convoluted. So people like you come in because the artist doesn't want to worry about all this stuff. So that's where, an expert like you comes in and can make it so much better and easier for them. And, they could leave all that nitty-gritty legal work to you and they can concentrate on being the artist. So I think that's really important. It's really crazy though, like, even samples of music. Like I find even online, artists are okay just with samples of it, but that can get kind of tricky too, I'm sure. I mean, you may have seen that in your business.
I want to just add something to what you said is that, like, it is a very common sentiment with artists that, they really just want to focus on their art, right? That is what consumes their brain space. That's what gets them up in the morning. That's what keeps them, working in the garage until 4 a.m. Or in the studio until the wee
Right.
hours. And I honor and respect that. The conversations that I like to have with my clients are to make them excited about learning the business of what they're trying to do, right? Because that is so critically important to the mission of helping them make money so that they can make more art. And so, I never let my clients off the hook. I say, look, you want me to negotiate this record deal for you? I will do that. But it doesn't matter what I think. It only matters what you think. So guess what? You're going to be a part of this process. I'm going to walk you through it. I'm going to make it as painless as possible, but I'm not making decisions for you. You're going to make decisions and I'm going to help you make them. But ultimately, everything that I do, every contract that I draft, every negotiation that I engage in, all centers around my client participating in the process. And part of the reason why I ultimately get them to agree on this, that they get them to agree that this is in fact the best course, is because knowledge is power, right? I
Yeah.
don't want them to just blindly trust me. I want them to trust, but verify. And the only way to verify is to get your hands dirty and jump into the process. And when you see how the proverbial sausage is made, then not only do you understand what you're getting into better, right? The artist that I represent a record deal is going to know exactly what it means to be signed to a record label, which, spoiler alert, is not always kittens and rainbows. They understand what kind of deal they may choose to get into. That they will know how to communicate with their record label executives and others, in their community about what it is that they're doing. They'll be able to communicate better with their manager, with their with booking agents, with the folks that they go out on tour with. It's not enough just to hyper focus on the art. You have to expand your mind into the whole community that goes around supporting artists and making this a job. And trust me, Bob, it is a job. Okay. I think some people do go through this process and finally realize, look, I'm much better when I'm just doing art as a hobby. I can't handle the pressure cooker of this being a job where multiple people's interests are at stake. And they kind of crumble under the pressure. And guess what? That's okay too. We all have to explore and find where our boundaries are. But for the people who have the stomach to not only master the art, but also the business, and in my opinion, the business and law are directly intertwined, then those people at least have a shot at making it in a very, very competitive industry.
Yeah, I've heard all these horror stories about very successful artists who went through so much and lost a lot of money. Hard to believe because they wound up being so wealthy. But when they signed on when they were young and naive, and managers or people would be taking off with their money, they only wish they would probably have had somebody like you to protect them and thrive and not have to go through all that stress. And like you said, some people just can crumble under that pressure. And that's totally understandable.
Yeah, you have perfectly described one of my main motivators in wanting to work as a lawyer in arts and entertainment. My mentor many years ago told me, he recalls this event better than I do. But there was a time when Oprah was interviewing Toni Braxton, who is, an Atlanta native, right? Like we're very proud of Toni Braxton. She was, the pop hit R&B queen of the 1990s. And, she was just on top of the world. Everybody knew her. She was the new girl. She was on every radio station, not just the R&B, but the pop and other types of stations. And by the time Oprah came around to interviewing her, she was already in bankruptcy proceedings in the height of her popularity. And the way that my mentor would describe that interview is he said Oprah basically looked at her and said, was looking around her nice house, nice furniture, big house, fine dining. And she's like, Tony, like, what happened? Like, you have all of this success and yet you were declaring bankruptcy. Like, what went wrong? And do you know what her answer was? She said that she signed a bad contract and nobody had explained to her why it was so bad.
Yeah.
And that resonates so much with me because I have seen it happen. Even when I warn my clients that, like, look, this little $5,000 they're waving in front of your face right now, it's going to be gone like that. And then what? When's your next paycheck going to come? How are you going to pay your bills? How are you going to support your family? Nothing moves quickly in the entertainment industry quite like that, especially not the money. And so, that was just a perfect example of how important it is to not only focus on the art, but also the business, make sure that you have a good lawyer, ask all the questions, all right? There's never a stupid question. I want my clients to understand absolutely everything. And I try to do my best job to identify what may be important, not just from a business and legal perspective, but also from an artistic perspective. Things like, well, are you willing to give up creative control to the record label if you sign this deal? I take those considerations very, very seriously. And so, what I wanted to do by going to law school and working with artists is to prevent that situation that Toni Braxton found herself in, where she just did not understand. I said, I always want my clients to understand exactly what type of deals they're getting into. And so I'm still on that mission today, 10 years in.
Motivated by Toni Braxton. Yeah, you would think a household name, which is basically, especially here in Atlanta, would have those kind of problems in dealing with bankruptcy. Hopefully, better times after that, I hope for her. But she's been through a lot too, I'm sure. So you wouldn't even know that. Explain to us what are white label partnerships? That's been described on your website there.
Yeah, well, thank you. I can't believe you found that. Most people don't know that we do that type of work. But yes, that was something that I proposed when I started with Vivid IP, was that we offer white label services. What that means is that other law firms could, if they wanted to, offer IP and entertainment legal services to their clients, when in reality, we have a deal where I would service those clients. I don't work for that firm, but I'm affiliated with them in such a way that I provide them the support to navigate, their entertainment needs with their clients. That way they don't have to build out their own team. They don't have to do their own hiring, but they can advertise as offering that service because they do. They just outsource it to someone like me. So that's a white label service, kind of similar to how you can go to Walmart and buy the Walmart brand ketchup, but really it's Hunts or Heinz. We offer the same thing.
Hmm. Then you do it all patent all the way through intellectual property. So people hear the word lawyer, they probably think you head into the courtroom all the time and deal with the judges. That's like, you're basically you're all about intellectual property. This isn't like a Perry Mason kind of thing.
Yes. Oh my God. Thank you for saying that. Yeah. I tell people I am allergic to courthouses. I do not like conflicts. I do not like fights. I like to make deals. And, that's easier said than done, especially when you're dealing with, the entertainment industry. You tend to deal with a lot of very powerful egos. Right. And that's okay. I have no problem navigating that. That makes the deal making process just that much more challenging. It's kind of the uncertainty of it. A lot of the success of the entertainment industry just hinges on, popular trends that nobody can control. I'm here for all of it.
Yeah, yeah. But you saw plenty of egos and confrontation within the world of politics, which you have been in. I'm sure the big question is, are you going to get back into it? Are you going to run again? I saw Carolyn Bordeaux, who was our a U.S. House representative here in Georgia's 7th district. First thing that came out of everybody's mouth is because she's finished up her term and is back here. But yeah, the first thing is, are you going to run again? Are you going to run again? It's like, I don't know. It's like either you have that addiction, you want to get back into it, or it's like, nah, it's just like I don't have the stomach for this anymore. I got to keep moving on.
Well, I appreciate the question every time somebody asks of it. So, for your viewers who may not know me, I served as a state house representative in Georgia for 4 years, representing the Peachtree Corners area, and it was just one of the biggest blessings of my life. The personal transformation I went through by stepping up to run for office and then serving out that obligation for 4 years, is just one of the major chapters in the book of my life. And so to anybody out there listening who may have supported me, voted for me, even just, spread word about me and my candidacy, there's just no way that I can thank you or pay you back for that. It just meant so much to me. But at the time, I was, several years into my entertainment law practice. I was happy as a clam, just, building my private life and professional life, and just traveling and, spending time with friends. I managed a band for 3 years. I mean,
Wow.
life was pretty fun and exciting for me. But then, the political climate in America started to take a turn for what I believe was the worst, right around 2016. And I don't have to rehash that era with your listeners. I think everybody knows what I'm talking about. So, politics was really almost like a fluke. I really don't think it would have happened, or at least it would not have happened that quickly had the events of 2016 not transpired. But it ignited something within me that was palpable, that just took over and led the way. And, I kind of just, let the universe lead. And, it meant that I was able to flip a suburban state house seat, not the one in Congress. That was Carolyn Bordeaux, but right here in Georgia at the Gold Dome in downtown Atlanta, I flipped a seat from Republican to Democrat. And dutifully served both my first term as a new legislator and my second term when I was reelected by the people of House District 95. And then redistricting happened. And, there's a lot of complication when it comes to political redistricting, which happens after every census. But, I'm sure your listeners have better things to do. Suffice it to say, my term is over. I would gladly serve again if the need and the opportunity arose again. But at the moment, Bob, I am enjoying being able to focus again on my personal life, my professional life, and go back to the thing that my original passion, the thing that originally drove my day to day, which is being an entertainment attorney representing artists, creators, and investors in the entertainment industry.
Yeah, yeah, so true. It's very well said. It's very understandable. Politics has become even a bigger circus in the last couple of years. So you got to be tough. I always liken that to somebody who's sitting at the dunk tank and somebody's ready to just dunk them at any moment, no matter where you are serving in politics. It's like that's what you are. You're in public service, and you become
Yep.
that that cultural, you could become a cultural piñata in a way. So it's really understandable. And it sounds like, you're on an incredible path. Just to give a mention, who are your brand champions that you work with in your group?
Oh, at Vivid IP?
Yeah, Vivid. And where does the name Vivid obviously means, oh, you're very clear, I suppose. Is that where that name kind of came from? What are the origins of all that?
Vivid IP was a brand name that was created before my arrival. But I agree, I love it. In fact, even my car tag is a vanity plate that says Vivid. I
Oh,
just
wow.
think it is just the just kind of the perfect encapsulation of who we are and who we work with and what we strive for, which is being vivid in the way that we serve. We're very clear, we're very easy to work with. All of our processes are digitized, so we make it as easy as possible for people to be able to reach out, find out if we can service them, what we can do for them, and how much it's going to cost. Right? We're a small business too, and just about every business that we serve is also a small business. We also represent multi-billion-dollar companies, so really anybody and everybody in between. And we love the work that our clients do. We become invested in their success. I have clients who send me copies of their book after it's been published, after I was able to help them negotiate their publishing deals, and so I've got a bookshelf full of my clients' work, and that just brings so much color and enjoyment and just excitement into my life. It's a very vivid experience to be able to represent artists, and so we also try to bring that type of enthusiasm to everything that we do. We want people to feel alive when they're working with us, and so it's a very vividly creative and inspirational process, both for the client but also for us as attorneys.
Right. And a shout out to your brand ambassadors. You're working with four others.
Yes. So we sometimes have a rotating list of talent, based on people's position in life. But the main leader, the head honcho of Vivid IP, is Marcy Sperry, who has a big law background in IP litigation. That means that she used to work for the big dogs, but like me, she prefers small practices, and so we're having a lot of fun, just working in a boutique intellectual firm together. And also, Alex Aaron is my high school classmate from Wesleyan, who specializes, she heads up both the patent division and the trademark division of Vivid IP. We also have Melissa Castro, who is our youngest attorney. We picked her up as a recent graduate a couple of years ago, and she is our litigation powerhouse. That woman knows how to write a compelling answering complaint, both in state court and federal. And so, we have a relationship with lots of local law schools in terms of being able to source and identify new and upcoming talent. So if you are in law school and you are considering entertainment law, just know that there is a place for you. There are opportunities for you. I want to get to know you. And it's an area of law that definitely needs more good, dedicated, talented lawyers to be able to bridge that gap between art, law, business, and sometimes politics.
Yeah, it's a growing thing here. If you're into law and you're looking for a field or a specialty, yeah, entertainment here in Georgia is just a wonderful thing. It's just, you got the opportunity here. So it's great that you're there. You look like you got a really great group of people. They're serious professionals who are there to help with the artistic community. So yeah, that's very much appreciated. And right here in very growing Peachtree Corners, Georgia, which became a city over 10 years ago. Now it's almost 11 or 12 now. It's just very, very growing here on the north side. And we're attracting a lot more younger people here to this area, and just it's growing by leaps and bounds. So definitely come to Peachtree. I'll do this for the CVB or whoever. Come to Peachtree Quarters. It's a wonderful place to visit. And my podcast name is kind of based on that, but I've been using that for years here. I've been here for ages.
Nice. Well, thank you for having me on your program. I really appreciate your hyper local journalism, for those of us who love Peachtree Corners, and everything going on in Atlanta, as well as just focusing on arts and entertainment in general. So thank you, Bob.
Absolutely. Take care. Have a good one.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.